Breaking news out of El Dorado County, where more residents are being told to leave their homes right now as the Caldor fire continues to burn out of control. These are live pictures from Live Copter 3 flying over the flames that you can see are moving very fast. This is in the Grizzly Flats area, not far from the Somerset area, not far from the Diamond Springs exit off of Highway 50. If you are not familiar with the area, this gives you a better idea. Several buildings have been destroyed already, and as you see on the map, there's the Grizzly Flats area. It is north of Leone Meadows. Omo Ranch also involved in this, where this fire originated. So you can see as we go back to Live Copter 3, just look for a second at how fast this smoke is moving, how fast the flames are tearing through this very hilly terrain here in the foothills. This is an extremely rural area, as you can see, so fighting this fire from the air is probably going to be their best bet right now, but the fire is putting off so much smoke. And you can see there are different spot fires, three of them that we're looking at right now. Well, when that combines, you can see the huge plume of smoke it's creating. As we pan over to the right, you can see a lot of what has already burned and the shadow that plume of smoke is casting. And now look at this. You can see the enormity and how big this fire is. It's probably one of the fastest moving fires that we have seen so far this wildfire season. I am extremely familiar with this area. If you've ever been on Grizzly Flat Road, especially going through the Somerset area, you know that it is a very hilly terrain, and there are not a lot of people that live in this area, but the people that do live here, they are pretty spread far apart. There aren't a lot of ways to get in and out. So this fire burning out of control right now. We have got live team coverage for you on this. We've got Lizzie Mitri on the ground. We've got Stephanie Lynn at evacuation centers. But right now, because the wind is the biggest thing, we want to go over to meteorologist Melanie Hunter, who is tracking those winds for us. And Melanie, the first thing I see, that smoke is moving.
Yeah, that plume, it just exploded overnight. And earlier this morning, we had more of that downsloping wind. And then already we're starting to see more of that southerly push from the wind that continues to make this grow. But anytime you have this intense heating at the surface, it creates these big updrafts. And that's the reason you're seeing that big plume of smoke and those pyrocumulus clouds. And the concern once we have that is that this is creating erratic wind behavior that is down at the surface. We were out there earlier this morning, and Brian Hickey was on scene and even astounded by the growth of that fire this morning, saying that earlier in his coverage of some of these fires in the morning, that's when the fire would be calm, or even in the overnight hours when firefighters would be able to contain it more. But in fact, it was still growing this morning, and now you can see it's that just massive plume of smoke, and people are seeing this smoke throughout the Tahoe Basin even. And something that we continue to follow is that this wind is just expected to continue to increase this afternoon and into the overnight hours.
So Melanie, what are the wind speeds that we're seeing right now?
So the wind speed that we are seeing, I've seen some that have been registered around 15 to 20 miles per hour gust as we take a look at that area, and we're starting to see it increase compared to what I was seeing this morning. Now this morning when we were waking up, it was calm to light winds, and then already we're starting to see that wind increase. So that's likely the reason we're seeing it explode as it did. But even continuing into the afternoon and into the later portion of the evening, we're expecting the wind to continue to increase.
Well, and it's interesting as you were talking, if we want to zoom back in, if our photographer can hear us, because I would love to zoom back in and look at how quickly these flames are torching one tree after another. And it's hard to tell from this perspective because we are flying so high, but these trees are massive. They are extremely tall. I grew up hiking in this area. My dad lives very close to this. He may actually be evacuated right now because we're right off of Mount Auckham and Grizzly Flat Road. So I'm not even sure how my dad is doing, but I can tell you from experience in hiking and walking this area my whole life, these trees don't look massive, but they're massive, and everything is so dry right now. So to see them go up in flames this quickly, like they're matchsticks, is scary. It's downright frightening. And as we zoom out and give you perspective, look at how big this fire is right now. It is just ravaging the foothills, at least this part of the foothills. We had kept an eye on this. Chief Meteorologist Mark Finan told us yesterday, he said, we really got to be careful because on Tuesday we're going to see a switch in the winds and we could really see this thing start to take off even more, and it is rapidly burning. And look at how high these pyrocumulus clouds that Melanie mentioned are, and look at the height of this. I mean, they continue to go on and on and on. We really have not seen this type of wildfire activity this fire season.
And Lisa, to go along with this, we have so many dry fuels that are just burning throughout this area, and we had such a dry winter and all those dead trees, and this just gives this a lot of fuel to continue to burn up as there is no containment and as it continues to spread throughout that area. I know that at least according to some of the firefighters that have been on scene, they are worried about this fire continuing to spread as we get more of that southerly push, that the fire will spread north along that portion of the Highway 50 corridor, and they're worried about some of those evacuation routes that could potentially be impacted throughout the day. But at least for now, some of those major routes do remain open. Of course, some of those roads in and around closest to the fire obviously shut down, but something that firefighters are continuing to monitor, Lisa.
Yeah, and you know, the roads in and around Grizzly Flats and Grizzly Flat Road, they're dangerous to drive on a dry spring perfect day, but when you add smoke to the situation and just, you know, your heart is racing, it's not a safe drive, especially if you have any type of outside weather elements, then it just makes it extremely dangerous. Let's go ahead and take you to some video that Livecopter 3 shot. This was about 11:30 this morning, not too long ago, and you can see how dark it was just from the smoke and just from the flames that were just tearing through this area. Just lots of spot fires, and look at how quickly those embers just carried the flames and just rapidly taking over the foothills right now. Huge flames towering over the tops of these trees, crowning at times and hopping from tree to tree and torching them right now. So we will continue to follow this for you. We do have team coverage for you on this. Probably the best tool we can show you is Livecopter 3, because it gives you this perspective that you're only going to see on Livecopter 3. Even firefighting personnel will take a look at what we're showing you, because this is valuable information. The fact that we can just look at this from a bird's eye view. And as I mentioned at the start of this broadcast, we do have team coverage for you. We've got two reporters on the ground for you. First of all, we've got Lizzie Mitri, who is in Grizzly Flats with what it looks like right now. We've got Stephanie Lynn still standing by for us in Diamond Springs, where they have set up an evacuation center for all the people trying to flee the flames. And then, of course, we continue to have meteorologist Melanie Hunter. She's tracking the winds for us and also the conditions that we're seeing on the ground and in the sky for the firefighting efforts. We want to go ahead and start with Lizzie Mitri. So where exactly are you in Grizzly Flats?
So we just got here to Grizzly Flats a little bit ago. We're on Tyler Drive near String Canyon Road, and you can see where the Caldor fire went through this area. This building right here gone because of that fire. Some vehicles you can see burned up in the area, and a lot of spot fires still going on right now, things smoldering. We are right near the entrance of an elementary school. So as we turn to the side here, you'll see that's how we saw the entrance, the Walt Tyler Elementary School. The sign burned there, and coming up to the driveway, we got a look. You'll hear some of those branches breaking underneath. A lot of debris here in this area, but this is where the playground is for the elementary school, and you can see it's charred and just a lot of damage here. There's no buildings left that we can see here from the school, unfortunately. And again, a lot of things smoldering, those little spot fires still going on in this area. On the way here, we also saw some homes that unfortunately didn't make it. A lot of downed power lines throughout the area. We talked to some people at the road closure on our way in, some people who had been evacuated. One person told me they got a firefighter knocking on their door at 2:30 this morning, and just had very little time to pack up all their things, gathered what they could, only the sentimental things, a lot of handmade things that he said his grandmother had made. And now they're just waiting, hoping to come back and see what happened to their homes. Fire officials say they don't have a count on how many homes or buildings burned because the conditions are just not safe yet for teams to come in here and assess the damage. They say today they think the fire could impact that Sly Lake Park area, which is north of here. It could impact interstate travel as well. We know there are about 240 people assigned to this fire, and we'll continue to follow along with the progress here throughout the afternoon. Live in Grizzly Flats, Lizzie Mitri, KCRA 3 News.
All right, Lizzie, thank you so much for the update there from Grizzly Flats. And you can just already see all of the destruction. The Caldor fire is prompting massive evacuation orders right now. And if you look at your screen, this is a list of other areas that are also under evacuation orders. Anyone in those areas, you need to get out right now. If you have not already gotten out, you need to leave right now. Evacuees from the Caldor fire in El Dorado County can go to a shelter in Diamond Springs. It's located at the Fireman's Hall on China Garden Road. And we were able to talk to some of the residents that were forced to leave their homes already. You can see they have their pets with them. They tell us they're hoping for the best as they wait to see what's left of their property. And now we want to go ahead and go over to KCRA 3's Stephanie Lynn. As I mentioned, she is at the evacuation center in Diamond Springs. How many people are there, Stephanie, approximately?
Yeah, Lisa, we've been seeing dozens of people trickle in and out of the evacuation center behind me here. This is a fireman's hall that's been set up as a temporary evacuation center for folks who've been asked to leave their homes because of danger of this Caldor fire. Now, I was actually just told moments ago by the folks who are operating this evacuation center here in Diamond Springs, this is at 3734 China Garden Road, that they're actually going to be transitioning folks over to another more permanent evacuation center that's being run by the Red Cross. That's at 2502 Country Club Drive. But again, we've been seeing dozens of people coming in and out of this temporary evacuation center here in Diamond Springs. A lot of people expressing concern. You can see a number of cars that are parked out here. They're not sure about the status of the animals. I spoke with one gentleman who was forced to leave his goats and his sheep behind. He's quite worried about them. He's not sure when he can go back in. We also spoke with another woman. She said that she actually survived the King fire that burned in 2014, and now she's being asked to evacuate again.
And it's scary, and it looked just the same this morning. It was just black and orange and really a history repeating itself.
And another live look at the situation that continues to unfold here. A lot of folks driving up, pulling into this parking lot, hoping to get more information on where they should be headed next for safety. I can tell you from a source from CAL FIRE telling me that when an evacuation warning comes down, that's actually the best time to go. You don't want to wait last minute when an evacuation order comes down, because that's when a lot of those roads might be packed with cars. People might be rushing. Now, we always ask people not to panic during an evacuation, but there could be a sense of nerves kicking in when that evacuation order comes down. So really, when an evacuation warning comes through, it's best to pack up and go. Reporting live from Diamond Springs, Stephanie Lynn, KCRA 3 News.
All right, very good advice. Great reminders for everyone that really the warning is when you want to go. You don't want to wait for it to become mandatory, because not only are you cutting it close, you don't know how fast that fire can move. And did you hear from people there if it was easy for them to get there to the evacuation center?
You know, the woman that you just heard from, Sheila, she was actually tuned into her local fire scanner, so she was able to stay abreast of a lot of the information coming down from fire officials. She was also watching KCRA 3. So in terms of the information getting out there, people are, staying tuned to their local news. They're keeping they're listening to their fire scanners, and also keeping abreast of what's being shared on social media. So, you know, the word is getting out in terms of evacuation orders, in terms of getting getting down the roadways and so forth to the evacuation center here. But we're going to speak to some more people and get them to share their stories with us, and we'll report back to you throughout the day, Lisa.
Yeah, and if you can, Stephanie, just because I know from driving these roads my whole life, ask them what the conditions were like. And by that I mean specifically, was it smoky? Were they seeing fire? Were they seeing a lot of firefighting personnel also on the road? These roads are extremely narrow. They're the kind of roads that when you're a kid, you feel like you're going to fall off the side of the road, just to give you some perspective. So if you can, I would really appreciate that when you're out there talking to everyone. Thank you so much, Stephanie Lynn. We'll be checking back in with you periodically. In the meantime, we want to go back up to Live Copter 3. We've got another vantage point for you of where the fire is burning. Right now, we're northeast of Pioneer, and look at how high these flames are towering over the tippy top of the trees. So that is really, really high. You saw those flames licking into the sky right there, and then they die back down because they are torching these pine trees and other types of trees so quickly and moving from treetop to treetop. Also, there's a ton of dry brush and fuels on the ground that they are just chewing through rapidly. This fire, as you can see, going right back up the hillside. It is extremely hilly in the foothills, thus the name, obviously, and where it sits in terms of the Sierra Nevada mountains. But that's the problem with having a fire in this area, because it is just racing up and down, creating its own winds, using the wind. At least it looks like the smoke is not moving as rapidly as we saw just 15-20 minutes ago, because the smoke was really moving. We still have meteorologist Melanie Hunter standing by for us. And Melanie, what are you seeing in terms of the wind speeds right now? Have they died down a bit?
Well, we've seen them increase just a bit from what we were experiencing this morning. We had the downsloping wind earlier this morning, and now the wind has more of a southwesterly push, anywhere from about 10 to 15 miles, but it's the gusts that have been a little bit stronger. I've been seeing some of the nearby observations show that those gusts are anywhere between 15 to 20 miles per hour. As you take a look at our wind map there, the area is shaded in green. Earlier this morning, most of that area was shaded in blue. We had a pretty light to calm wind, so the winds have increased somewhat. As we take a look at that satellite view, you just get an idea of how much smoke is being spread across Northern California with this new surge of fire activity. If you take a look about the middle of your screen, you see that huge smoke plume, and that is what is being put out from that Caldor fire. As you've been seeing the huge smoke plumes right here, we take a look at that satellite view, and just a lot of smoke being emitted from that area. So much so that people in Tahoe City have reported seeing ash falling from the sky. Now, as we continue into the afternoon, we are going to continue to see those winds increase throughout the portion of the area where this fire is burning. So that continues to be a concern for that immediate area. The temperatures as well should be at about the 80s. So at least we aren't talking about very hot conditions, but down toward the fire where we have these fuels that are burning, that does create very hot conditions. And that's the reason that you're continuing to see those pyrocumulus clouds continue to build as we have intense heat that continues to spread, and that's that intense plume of smoke that you are seeing from that live copter view. As we take another view of the Caldor fire, as you continue to see all those dry fuels that continue to go up in flames, as we've just had a very dry winter and record fuels, low humidity values, as just all that combination helping to unfortunately continue to spread this fire.
Yeah, I mean, we are in a drought, and that's exactly why we have a drought declared in the state of California. But look at this ball of flames and fire right now that we're seeing just chew through this grove of trees. And it's amazing for you to be able to watch. Oh, and look at on the right there, the spinning that we're seeing right now. This is amazing and so important for you to see how fast it chews through these trees. These are massive trees that we're talking about, and it just took it out in a matter of 20, 35 seconds. And then look at that, the torching that's going on, and even a little bit of the vortex that we're seeing there as the wind starts to become its own little weather system there, if you will. That fire really just taking off right now. Again, this has moved so fast just this morning, especially as Melanie mentioned, when those winds pick back up. And then this is what happens. This is really a worst case scenario type of situation. It really is. And so I'm so thankful so many people took the evacuation warning when they did and got out when they could. As we pan down, you can see just this line of flames down the hillside here, and just one by one taking over these trees, and then all of the brush just traveling quickly along the ground there. And look at the height and intensity of this. Hopefully firefighters are getting a good handle on this from the sky. I have not seen any firefighting aircraft at this time, and it may be because it may be too smoky and it may be too dangerous, because if it is safe, they will be out there and they will be laying retardant lines down. But I have not seen that right now. If anyone else has, you can go ahead and say it in my ear, but I have not personally seen it at all. Not sure where they have the ground crews either, but it is very helpful for us to be able to get this aerial picture, because it really gives you some perspective. Now, as I mentioned, there are homes throughout, and sometimes you can't see them, but that doesn't mean that there aren't homes there. I promise you that there are residents. It's just the way that this particular area is laid out. You know, people live on many acres, and a lot of times they're very, smaller residences, and so you can't see them from the trees. So just because, from this vantage point, it looks like we're not seeing any structures, that doesn't mean that they aren't there. I promise you.